crushing your goals as a director doesn't make you promotable. At this level, it just proves that you're qualified to keep doing your current job. Hi, I'm Keith, and I'm a leadership signal advisor for ambitious tech managers and directors. If you're ready to make your promotion a when, not if, you're in the right place. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss anything. So, if we were talking as a close mentor-mentee, I'd probably start the conversation by telling you that you're asking the wrong question. Most directors I work with are stuck on some version of how do I show I'm ready for the next level? And that question sends you straight back to the only playbook you've ever known: taking on more, proving more, demonstrating more. More projects, more scope, higher OKRs, more evidence. You keep piling things on the scale, hoping at some point it finally tips in your favor. Here's the first structural shift to notice. VPs, whether they've articulated it or not, are usually driven by a different question entirely. What business problem would be more expensive if I didn't exist? That question pulls you out of how do I look promotable into where do I bend the curve on profit, risk, strategy, or market position. It forces you to think less about your to-do list and more about the company's P&L, the bet the business is making, the downsides they're trying to avoid. This is where what I call the promotion illusion shows up. You spent a whole career being told explicitly and implicitly that if you crush your goals, good things happen. For example, you hit the number, you get the rating, the raise, and the next title. So when you keep crushing your goals as a director and nothing moves, it feels like there's nothing you can do and you're stuck in a rut. Let me give you a metaphor for this. At this level, hitting your goals is like showing up to an exam with a sharpened pencil. It's necessary, but nobody is going to give you extra credit for it. What starts to matter is, did you choose goals that actually matter to the business, or did you quietly accept safe ones? Did you influence other leaders to adopt those goals and line up behind them? Or did you just sign your team up and hope others came along? Did you ever challenge targets for being too low or push for a bolder outcome when everyone else was playing small? The differentiator isn't whether you can deliver. That's already known. It's whether you're shaping what delivery even means in the first place. Let me make this concrete with a really quick story. So I worked with a director who ran a core performance team at a big FANG company that I was working at the time. Every quarter, her updates were flawless. She delivered on time, roadmap was clear, her team was very engaged. But in promotion discussions, the feedback was always the same. She's a very strong operator, not quite VP yet. What changed everything wasn't more output, it was one shift in how she framed her work. Instead of saying, we shipped X capabilities, she started saying, if this platform fails at scale, our enterprise expansion stalls by about 12 months. Here's how we're reducing risk, and here's the bet I think the company should make next. Notice that it's the same work, but a different interpretation. So what happened? Within 2 cycles, she wasn't asking about readiness anymore. People were asking her where she should sit in the org. This is the pattern. And under it, there are 3 invisible shifts from what I'd call director brain to VP brain. In director's brain, you instinctively talk about your roadmap, your headcount, your functional KPIs. You're fluent in language of your team. In a VP brain, you still know all of that, but when you're with senior leaders, you translate it into company-level outcomes, such as revenue, margins, risk, market position, customer lifetime value, whatever actually drives the strategy where you work. You stop saying, we shipped X features, and you start saying, we reduced churn in this segment by XYZ, which changes the economics of our expansion plan. Shift 2, from how do I execute all of this to what do we say no to? Directors build reputations as the one who can carry more. VPs, however, build reputation as the ones who know what to kill. They're willing to cut popular projects to create more white space because they're optimizing for impact, not busyness. Shift 3 is when you go from I run the meeting to I shape the room. This means it's no longer about a clean agenda and comprehensive updates. It's about clarifying the real problem, surfacing the trade offs, reading the politics in the room, and helping a group of humans converge on a decision that holds and sticks. If you want a clean, slightly uncomfortable mirror for where you're actually operating right now, look at your calendar. Your title may say director, but your calendar is what tells the truth about your level. If I took your calendar from this week and showed it to someone senior, would they be able to guess your altitude? When I sit with directors, their weeks are often a solid block of one-on-ones, status updates, project reviews, performance conversations, which are necessary, important things, but almost entirely about running the current machine. When I look at VP's calendars, I still see some of that, but I also see strategy reviews, cross-functional negotiations, sessions where they're aligning with other executives, time with key customers or partners, budget and portfolio calls. There's more time spent on questions like, what bets are we making? How do we sequence them? What story are we telling the board or executive panel? There are also some patterns, red flags honestly, that executives notice long before they ever show up in your feedback. One is a tendency to avoid healthy conflict. You see yourself as collaborative, and you probably are, but if you consistently sand down hard messages, or you defer to louder voices, or even you just back away from tension, what senior leaders experience is you're nice, you're capable, but they're not sure where you'd hold under pressure. Another is over identifying with your team. Your instinct is to protect them and advocate for them, and of course, to lobby for their priorities. And that loyalty is a strong strength. But the shadow is that you can become the person who always argues from my org needs XYZ and rarely from the business needs Y. The third is staying in tactical communication mode. You know every dependency and detail, but when you talk to executives, you walk them through tasks and updates instead of a clear narrative about the risk, options, and outcomes. And if you're wondering if this is what's going on, why hasn't anyone actually told me any of this? Part of the answer is a structural and political one. VP seats are scarce. Succession plans can be messy. Giving someone the full, unvarnished, here's why we don't see you as a peer at the table talk is emotionally risky. So what filters down to you is performance feedback, how well you did in your current job, rather than potential feedback, what they need to see to bet on you at the next level. This is the part that most people miss. Promotions at this level aren't rewards for effort. They're risk decisions made under uncertainty. Strong leaders are asking themselves, often unconsciously, if we put this person in the room where the hardest decisions get made, do we trust their judgment, their framing, and the trade-offs that they see? If your leadership isn't easy to read in those moments, they default to the safer choice. That's why this work isn't about grinding harder or becoming someone you're not. It's about making your leadership legible at the level decisions are actually made, so the value you already create can be explained, defended, and repeated when you are not in the room. So as you think about your next chapter, hold a slightly different set of questions. Instead of how do I show I'm ready, ask what business problem would be more expensive if I weren't here? And am I talking about it that way? Next, instead of why won't they promote me if I'm crushing my goals, ask, am I the one choosing and stretching the right goals, or am I just hitting the ones I'm given? And instead of what else can I take on, ask, what do I need to say no to so I have the space to operate at the next level? VPs don't get promoted because they're ready. They get promoted because at some point it becomes riskier not to have them at the table. When your thinking, your language, and focus consistently signals that level, the question quietly shifts from, are they ready, to where do we put them in the org? I hope to see you soon.